I clicked it, right? Oh, wait. No, we'll do a countdown. Hello, you are watching Unbridled Talk Live, and I'm a bit rusty here. It's been like
A month?
weeks.
More than that?
Yeah, this is really the first time I feel like I've been home. Well, going on a whole week in weeks. Um, with my pregnancy, I have since end of February. I've been on travel for 45 days or so. So I've been on like 6 flights in the past 3.5 weeks, which is
Has
pretty
it
crazy.
only been 45 days? Because it honestly has felt like you've been like out of town for
If you
like
think
the
about
past
it,
3
45
months.
days, like they're 5-day week chunks.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of weeks I've been kind of gone. So really proud of my husband for holding down the fort. He never complains about it and takes care of the 3 dogs and the chickens and
Over 2
and they
months.
just
Yeah.
disappear.
Yeah. I just did the math in my noggin.
So yeah, I'm 7 months pregnant, which is exciting. It's been a bit tough. Definitely keeping the cadence here. So I appreciate everyone who checks in, on the weekly cadence and is like, hey, are you guys hosting? We do have big plans, which we'll dive into in a little bit, going forward to kind of, create a little bit more regularity. My whole room is disheveled right now because I kind of like came back and it just exploded.
Yeah.
So like normally I'll have a light and right now it's just like overhead and I feel like we're just watching a horror movie, so I'm definitely getting the vibes.
Don't even go there. Like literally, my lighting. I'm orange. I'm orange.
At least you have color in your cheeks. Oh my gosh! So what's been cooking? What have you been up to?
I am teaching more horseback riding lessons. Shout out to Saddle Up LLC. We're growing. We're getting bigger. So I had 2 new clients start this week, and one client wants to do twice a week, and then the other client wants to do once a week. So that's pretty good for business sake. And
That's
then
huge, yeah.
yeah, and then Charlie injured himself at MA4, which a lot of people already know about that. I suspect it is the inside suspensory ligament. That's my guess, just because when I go to hose it, he is like, no, don't do it there. He's like, no, that's where it's ouchy. So,
Sure.
yeah. He's really not that puffy, though.
That's the thing. His legs look pretty tight.
Yeah.
You were showing me some pictures, but it's anytime you have those tendon injuries, right? Even if you don't have profuse swelling, you still got to treat it like it's a serious thing with the support and the cold hosing.
Which
You've
I've
been
been doing.
out there.
Well, so I haven't really been cold hosing. I have found a way to just use ice gel packs
Smart. Yeah.
and then just wrap his leg.
Yeah.
And then I have Lauren, who leases Charlie. She does morning shift, and I do evening shift. And then after I wrap it with like that gel pack, and then put like the strappy boots on it for like 15, 20 minutes or whatever, then I take that off, and then I've just been putting like the poultice on it at night, just because it makes me feel like a better person. Like I'm doing everything that I can. And then he's been on a little bit of bute per recommended by the vet as well. So
yeah, it's like a waiting game. We got to work through that with Toby for a couple of months. Shout out to Michelle and Eden who put in a ton of tireless work. He was at their barn, but it was already something kind of pre-existing that I think it was not their fault in any capacity whatsoever, and they took fabulous care of him. But it was really eye-opening for me. It was the most recent time I've dealt with a tendon injury where the consistent wrapping, the cold hosing or icing, the hand walking, eventually, getting them out in like contained turnout or the smaller turnout while they're recovering. It's a crazy regiment. Like I continually with this show have been brought back to how complex and technical and huge the world of horses is for people who are like new to our sport to to having horses in their life. It's insane.
Right. 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 It's just so much to share. I feel like I've learned so much in such a short period of time. And honestly, it's gotten to the point where it's pretty much common sense, the stuff that I do know, right?
Yeah,
And when people ask me questions, I'm like, "Oh, I can just spout off the answer, da 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 da." But then I experience something like what happened to Charlie over the weekend, and I'm asking everybody, like, because I've never experienced before, so
yeah,
I don't have like that prior knowledge to be able to apply it in the real world situation. So Joy Seymour came in clutch for me and helped me out big time. She came in and she showed me how to put the standing wraps on
yeah,
Charlie and the poultice and everything because I'd never even done that before.
yeah.
Um, I've always wanted to learn how to, but we're always so busy at MAs, and I feel like, well, we've never done it before, so what's the big time if what's the big deal if we skip it
It's
this
gonna,
time?
yeah, it'll eventually come up in
Eventually,
some capacity, right?
it'll happen, right? Right, and there aren't really a lot of people at my barn that do that because they just, it's pleasure ride there. They don't really go
Yeah,
super intensely. So, um, yeah, it's a good experience for me. Poor Charlie. It's very
I
sad,
know it's.
but
I mean, Charlie is the most tough horse I feel like I've ever met. So if any horse is going to come back, if it were serious, even, which
right.
fingers crossed it's not, and he's just kind of strained it, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
Um, but Charlie, he can come back from anything. Like
right.
that horse has 9 lives.
I agree. That's what I was talking about yesterday with Mel, at the barn. She she was like, "Yeah, okay, well, it's not that puffy." And I was like, "Yeah, it's not." I was like, "But he doesn't really show signs of like being injured."
The horse literally got hit by an F-350. And like,
I pointed to the dent. I said, "You see that dent in his shoulder?" That's when he took out a truck, and he was only out of commission for 3 months, and then
I
nothing
know,
was
and then
even
you're out there
broken.
competing on him that spring, like
I was like, "It didn't even break him." I said, "It bruised him." Like,
it's
that's it.
literally like,
Yeah,
guys, these Pasofino quarter horse is a very underestimated cross. I just have to say,
yeah.
we have some comments here.
Oh, yeah, we do. Hi, Joy.
So we've got Joy who's checking in. She says, "Oh no, that when Tonks pulled her suspensory, it wasn't very swollen, and they thought it was possibly a stone bruise."
Wow.
It's yeah, I mean, stone bruises can manifest like that. I feel like pretty often, and when the horse just comes in from a field, that this was obviously pretty acute. It kind of happened during competition, like right
Yeah,
after a race,
yeah.
um, which I know that you're well aware of, Joy. But Kim said Charlie is a tank. You guys were laughing about it only because it happened and he's fine, but it was like Super Bowl weekend and everybody was curled up watching TV and went to check on the horses in the evening. And my Appaloosa, God bless him, decided to open the gate and let all of the horses out because he figured that out recently, how to open the gate. And he stayed at the barn while everybody else went running up and down the highway. Um,
It was a traumatic experience. So
it
the
was
only
great.
way you can get over traumatic experiences like that
Laughing, right?
is to laugh, and
Just
nobody
humor.
died. No
Like,
humans or
really
ponies
bad.
died, so everything's fine.
I mean, he literally came back like cold shoulder, full like gimp, could
He's
not
not
walk
even
on it. And
done.
within 3 months, Carly was debuting in mounted games on him, and he was
First
totally like
season.
rock solid.
Yeah, yeah, on the
It's
tank.
crazy. Kim says Charlie does not show pain unless it's a level 9 to 10.
Honestly, he
Everyone
doesn't.
should be more like Charlie.
That's why he's
Stuff
so
it out.
perfect. He's just so tough.
So you guys just competed at nationals, and I figure
Yeah.
since this is a games talk show and we haven't talked about games a whole lot because we've been MIA for a couple of weeks, all Genevieve's fault, not Carly. Carly's been busting her butt to make this thing go.
It's
But
fine. We've missed you.
how did nationals go? What's the experience like? How was it organized? Like, give me the details.
Okay, so I was asked last minute to fill in for an intermediate team,
I
and
wonder why you ended up on that pony.
like last minute, Krista's like, "Hey, can you fill in for this intermediate team?" And I was like, "What the heck? Why not? Like, you only live once." And It was a crazy experience having to ride in 2 divisions. I don't know how y'all do it.
Yeah.
There was 0 time to take care of the horses. And funny story, I brought Poppy this weekend to transport or to turn her over to Melissa
Shout
Zingle,
out.
the B Sween, to work with her for the next couple of months. And I'm very excited about that. However, I was bringing 3 horses of my own. So I was supposed to be able to borrow 1 pony that I thought was belonged to a girl on the intermediate team. So I was like, hey, can you just take care of that pony? Because I'm already bringing 3 of my own and I'm a little overwhelmed. Well, that pony dropped off the face of the earth and I was unable to ride it. And the day that I was leaving, I got a message saying, hey, we don't have this pony available to us anymore. Can you try to find another pony? So one of my teammates, Michaela Campbell, posted and was like, hey, can we find another pony for Carly? And then shout out to Caroline Toby because she messaged me and she's like, well, my little tried and true guy that's never ridden an open before, who's technically a green pony because of that fact, is available. She's like, if you can find him a ride here. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my
I'm packing. I worked 8 hours before we headed out here. Like I'm working, interpreting 2 languages at one time, trying to find a pony, and then also organize my schedule so I can get out of
God. Oh my God.
here. My mind is like exploding. So also shout out to Meg Griffin who transported said
Oh
pony.
my God.
So he ended up being stalled with my little crew because I was like, well, at least put him with my crew so I
That's
can make
why.
sure
Okay.
he's being taken care of. So then I went from being overwhelmed with 3 ponies to being insanely overwhelmed with 4 ponies, and 1 pony wasn't even mine. So I was like, extra pressure, gotta make sure he's taken care
Oh
of,
my
and
God. Yeah.
everyone knows that he loves him. So, long story short to say, Tom stepped it up this weekend and really, really helped and cleaned stalls and made sure there was hay and water. And I spent the entire day out in the sun.
Yeah. It's a
Like,
lot. It's
had like heat
exhausting.
stroke. It was fine.
I had no idea why you were on this little pinto pony. Super cute, by the way, Caroline.
Yes.
Like, super cute. But you were literally, I think, coming back in from one of the sessions. I showed up in the PM, a Saturday PM session. I drove out. I had just gotten back from Alabama the day before. I was burnt out, dude, tired. And so I showed up and I like took video and took some pictures. And then I come into the barn and you like have this pony behind you. And I'm like, oh, somebody handed it off to get him to get him untagged.
No.
And I'm walking behind you and I'm unbuckling things and things are
Yep.
mysteriously getting rebuckled back on.
I'm like, are you
And
untagging
finally
my
you turn
pony?
around and you're like, Genevieve, what are you doing?
Like, I'm kind of in a hurry and I'm late and I'm trying
I'm
my best
literally
to get him
unpacking the
tagged up.
pony behind her because
It was hilarious.
oh, that was bad.
But yeah, no, it was great. Oh
Pregnancy
my gosh.
brain. There you go.
Joy. Okay, Joy, yes, Annie is a beast. Can you click on Joy's comment where she says Annie rode
Yes.
in 2 divisions with a missing fingernail? Because it's true.
So Joy said Annie rode 2 divisions with a missing fingernail. And Caroline said Annie is a beast. I would have gone home after that. Annie was so sad he didn't get to see her to ride Hero. I know. I was really happy to see him go out there though in pony pairs for the one race. So Annie and just what happens when you ride green ponies, it's unpredictable.
Right.
And honestly, I started like counting my blessings that I've been able to ride largely 2 to 3 divisions when I go out to these competitions and I'm schooling ponies, and I have not had a major injury happen that has sidelined me from my main team. But you realize like that the stakes are really high the more ponies you start riding as you're out there competing. You're getting exhausted, the
Yeah.
heat's getting to you, and you've got the unpredictability of a horse that's never done that level before. So Annie was out there on Rocky, and sounds like she was doing hula hoop, and he got kind of overstimulated and he was already like really, really tense. And when she vaulted him, he threw in a big buck. And we all know, like, no matter how good of a rider you are, there is a certain level of compromise when you're vaulting where it's like kind of a Hail Mary and you leap. And he threw her, but she kind of came down under him and he stepped on her hand, removed her fingernail, somehow miraculously did not break her
I
hand
know.
or her finger.
I thought for sure her fingers were broken.
Yeah. There's like the girl's got rubber bones or something.
Yeah.
So
Magic.
she went to the ER. When I showed up for the PM session, she had just gotten back from the ER, but So I missed watching her ride Hero, but it was so good to see. Like, Joy, you had him out in warm up. I was kind of watching you. I was also suffering from the heat, so I was hiding in the car in the AC. But I mean, he looks so good. I'm so excited for all of the hard work that you and Annie have been putting into him. Like, he looks so good out there. It really, really was wonderful. Joy just said Annie has never broken a bone.
You must be
Told
knocking
you.
on some wood right
Yeah,
now.
you be knocking on wood there. I'm telling you, she's got rubber bones. She bounces, man. I want to bounce like her at this age.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Kim said Rocky must have been light on his feet in that moment. I feel like, does Rocky have shoes, Joy?
Yes.
Because if he
Yes.
had shoes on, like, how?
I know.
How?
That's why her fingers were cut. So her
Shout out to
pinky was
everyone who
cut.
comments knock on wood right now
Yeah.
because
Let's go,
rooting for
everybody.
Annie here.
Poor
We can
Annie.
get 9. That would be amazing.
The saddest part about Annie losing her nail is that it's her ring finger and she's about to get married.
Oh my gosh.
So now all of her photos are gonna have to be her like hiding her fingernail.
You're gonna go full Bridgerton with the gloves. Like, maybe some like black lace gloves would be nice. Oh my
Very
gosh.
kinda
And they
cool.
sewed it back on, guys.
Yes.
So she's got Franken finger going on.
Literally, she's got stitches hanging out of her fingernail.
I'm so sorry, Annie. That is just I hope that you're feeling better. That's a tough one. Joy said she's so glad she wasn't wearing a ring, and that's such a good point. I actually saw someone comment, or there was someone who posted, married woman, super successful, and she was with her horse, and she was proud of a picture. And people were like, "You don't have your ring on. What are you doing without your ring on?" And getting all fussy, right? And she commented, and she was like, "Rings can be super dangerous with horses, like particularly metal rings." And they can, because they can get hooked into shoes in just like the weirdest way. I've seen it happen before.
Bye.
You had like a loose nail, and actually it happened to my mom when I was younger. I remember it was like this huge impression on me because it got hooked in Bailey's shoe, and he started to pull away, and like it just, the horror of, you could literally lose your finger that way.
Yep.
So guys, silicone rings exist now, and or just be safe and take it off if you need to while you're on your horse and explain it. But I'm so glad she wasn't wearing it, Joy, because that's scary.
Yeah. So Joy also said that Rocky now has event shoes on. And that's the sharp edges. So yeah, she's so lucky she didn't break anything.
Him said silicone rings if you want to wear one. Metal rings can get caught. My mom almost lost her finger in a soccer net.
Oh.
Like, I'm telling you.
What are you doing with a soccer net?
No, I'm scared. I only wear like my nice ring when I'm going somewhere like really nice. Otherwise, I honestly, especially pregnant, like it's stretchy. I don't know. It's just gotten really comfortable to wear the silicone rings now. Yeah. And you can change colors and everything. My mom, you chimed in. What's up, Linda?
Oh, Linda.
She said, thank God my ring broke. The only reason I didn't lose my finger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was kind of scary. I just remember that like being, I don't know why it was so traumatizing to me. I didn't even react in the time, but I think about it a lot. So nationals, how was Remington?
Remington was great. He was the most consistent he's ever been for me. Like, he was the same horse for every session, which is saying a lot, because usually he picks a session to be an absolute butthead. And he usually has a slow session, which is the first one. The second one, he's a butthead. And then the third session, he's like, and we'll like throw in little nasties every once in a while.
Fussy.
But he was the most consistent he has ever been, and I'm so stoked. I did not get any of my vaults this past weekend, which was disappointing. But
but you also, I think, at least watching you, I feel like you made a conscious decision that you could be quicker if you just decided to mount. And that's not a bad thing. Actually, I was sitting there, like, so I've been taking video now. I'm trying to learn this whole filmography thing. And the cool thing about having video of all these riders getting on and off is I sort of have a timestamp. And so now I can like watch like how long it's taking for people to do things. And it's shocking when you watch Michelle on Border Patrol. Her horse comes up, halts. She steps off, grabs it, steps on, and literally immediately gallops off.
Yep.
And it literally is as fast as the people who are coming up and their horse comes to a complete halt and then they trot off. because she has decided that she is going to get on that way, and she has a plan and she executes it. Like, and that, I don't know, just watching video back this weekend, it sort of occurred to me that there are times, I think, even as an open rider, when if your horse is going to support you, just make the decision and just do it that way.
Right.
Like you did, because now your pony is not as angry and fussy. You just had a better ride. It doesn't
Right.
mean you never try it again.
Exactly. And I had to ride in Founders race because poor Annie was at the ER at the time getting her fingernail sewed back on. And
I need to
and
blow
I was
my
like,
nose,
okay,
so
well,
hang on one second. Keep
okay.
talking.
And
I'm
I
just
just
really angry.
decided consciously, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna stirrup mount it, and it worked out perfectly fine. I jumped off, I picked it up, he let me stirrup mount because I wasn't trying to send him off anywhere or grab his mane or lean on him like he doesn't like me to lean on him. So it all worked out pretty well, and I just made the conscious decision for like the next, I guess that was the second session. So yeah, just the rest of the competition for nationals, just to like automatically stirrup mount, just get on, just
Yeah.
put the stirrup in and go, because he wasn't sending for me, and that's been like a big fight. And I even tried to put on the grab strap higher up, and as
Mm-hmm.
soon as I put any weight on that grab strap, he turns sideways like a little noodle
Yep.
and just loses all momentum whatsoever, and then I can't get up. And I thought that was going to fix everything, but it made it
I
worse.
wonder if you could at home school with like side reins on, like lunging
Yeah,
side reins.
but at
Because
home I don't have any problem.
oh
Like at
well,
home he's perfect. The only
yeah,
time I can't get up, like I have like a 99% chance of getting my vaults every single time at home.
yeah,
He's perfect. Sends for me. Doesn't doesn't even care that I have a grab strap on. I vault him bridleless at home.
yeah.
No problem. Take him
I
out
don't
to a
know,
competition.
Hero. There
It's
was
just the way
one
the world.
season that I just had to say okay and just stir up every time,
Yeah.
and like after that, I feel then with working the vaulting, sometimes you just take a break and they come back and in competition, it's no longer like that trigger, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing
Right.
necessarily to take a break from that. Um, I wanted to pivot because I feel like this is a really important topic. And it's a good thing that we can kind of close on like in 15 minutes because I know we didn't want to stay for super, super long.
Yeah.
But I saw, just like you out there with Rebel, so many people borrowing horses, and it's so encouraging to see. And I know that we've been fielding ponies for MA4 coming up because we've got a couple of USMGA riders that are actually going to be traveling up to ride with our team, Uncharted, and with Gone Rogue. But it kind of got me thinking about etiquette when you're borrowing horses in our sport. And I know that people have either had really great experiences or they've had poor experiences, but particularly since we have people who are kind of newer to games who might get into a position where they can borrow a pony for their first competition, like I wanted to survey the people that are watching, like what are your expectations when people borrow ponies from you? What are things that you look for that impress you with the standard of care and horsemanship? Um, do you charge people just for gas? Do you charge people more of a fee for borrowing your pony? So anyway, guys, in the comments, just like what is something that like stands out to you that's like really a good thing and maybe a bad thing that you've seen when people borrow ponies, and don't call out names, but just give me like some feedback. That'd be awesome. I think it'd be really cool if we put together kind of a cheat sheet for that. Um, being a good steward of a borrowed pony. Like
Yeah. Yeah. I
when
think
I loan out ponies, I think it's really important. One, like as soon as people arrive, that they're offering to help set up the stall, that they're offering, the kind of the
right.
taking the ownership of the pony while they're there. But it really frustrates me, I think, and I haven't seen it very often, but when you have people who are overriding the pony, so between sessions they get on, like it's okay to go for a hack, like you're fine, but there are people who get on like an hour and a half before and just ride and ride and ride, or they ride afterwards. Like expect that your pony's probably going to be tired at some point. I know
Yeah.
you might need a schooling ride the day before, you might want to hack out, but just being moderate about how much you're on the horse, especially a horse that you're borrowing.
Right. Right.
um
Be respectful of their fitness level.
yeah.
And maybe that's
Hand
something,
walking, I think, is huge. I
yeah,
think it
something
like
to
it,
ask.
it frustrates me when I go into the barn and I see that they're not there if there's an expectation that you're going to be there at a certain time. Pony doesn't have water. Pony doesn't have hay. Pony's stall is completely a mess. If they're working through like some of that, that's fine, right? But there's times where you show up and then like as the owner, especially when you have multiple horses there, you kind of just feel obligated. You're like, well, I don't want to leave my one horse out, so you just keep doing the work.
Hmm.
Um, Joy went ahead and commented here while Jen keeps spouting stuff out. I expect people to pay for what it costs to get the pony there, including gas, health certificate, ulcer guard, etc. Really good point on the health certificates because they're expensive to get the vet out specifically for that competition when you're crossing state lines. She said, I want the person borrowing to take care of my pony, clean the stall, fill water, never allow someone to lark on my pony. Caroline, I prefer to feed my horses when people borrow them just to make sure that they're eating. And I like to add quite a bit of water to their feed. That's actually a good point, right? So set the expectation, I think, up front. What do I want from you if you're borrowing my pony? If I already have 6 horses there, maybe I will feed in the morning.
Right.
But I would still expect that you're not going to sleep in an extra 3 hours and leave the pony to rot in a messy stall. Like,
Right. You
I
should
think
be
that's
getting up
important.
before your session, before whenever you have to volunteer, and walking the pony because that's what the pony
Yeah.
needs. Like, even if you just got back from walking the pony, then they need to take the lead rope out of your hand and continue to walk said pony because more walking is much better than less walking anyway, and they're responsible.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah, because there's times where as the owner, maybe you don't sleep or you just get up earlier to work through your other horses. If you do take them out and the person just shows up, don't just expect it's done and then leave. Like
Hmm.
just step in and be like, okay, let's go for another lap, and then communicate. Communication is huge too. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be back. I'm gonna do the water. Okay, that's great. Otherwise, I always feel obligated because there have been times where um, I feel like I would go walk the pony, bring the pony back, and then see that the water's still not done. And then yeah, it gets frustrating. And I think it discourages me when I know some people refuse to loan out ponies because they just don't trust that there's going to be a standard of care upheld.
Yeah.
But the backbone of our sport really is ponies that are being loaned out so people get exposure.
Yeah. I think it would
It's
be helpful if you're one of those people that loans a pony out to, instead of just assuming that the person's going to take care of the horse the way you would, go ahead and just give them maybe a list. Say, pony
a
eats
good
at this
point.
time and this time, and make sure there's always fresh water. Dump waters out at this time and this time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
kind of like just create maybe a more stringent outline for them to follow. That way, like if they're following this outline, then your horse is getting taken care of.
yeah.
If that makes sense. It's almost going to help.
That's an expectation, and I think like there's some people who stable bandage ice their ponies after like expect a certain level of care, and there are some people who just don't do that, and it's not wrong to be an owner who does or doesn't. Like it's just your preference. But you're right. I feel like it's easier than me borrowing a pony to go hound the person and be like, okay, what do you need next? What do you need next? I appreciate the help when people are constantly offering, but it is nice to have an expectation that's set.
Right. It's also hard, I think, because I'm just visualizing the new people that I've been meeting recently who board their horses. So they're new to horses altogether, and now they're
That's a good
boarding the
point.
horses. They're not responsible for cleaning stalls. They're not responsible for doing water or filling hay nets or anything. So even saying treat the horse like it is your own, they're not responsible for any of that at home anyway. So it
Yeah.
doesn't even cross their mind, if that makes sense.
That's such a good point, and that's where communication again becomes
That's why
key.
maybe a list would be better for anyone borrowing a pony. Just assume they don't have those responsibilities at home.
Yeah,
Kind of set the stage for them.
now I'm having like ideas. We keep talking about educational content.
Hmm.
Um, this will be such a good short video to go over like key things, like expectations that you normally do have. Like setting up a list would be huge, but imagine that you're just coming in and you've only ever ridden lesson ponies, and we're trying to expose someone to the sport where largely you have to buy your own pony to compete in mounted games
Right.
or get really lucky with a lease. It would be really beneficial, I think, for people to Kimberly. these comments. I'm hearing of another laminated list being created. Girl, we need a laminator. um, we need a video of how to wrap a leg. I was thinking about that too. That is so key. Lauren. Hey, shout out to Lauren.
Hey, LOL with lesson ponies.
You're right, right? So when you a lot of lesson barns take away, and this is a frustration I have with a lot of lesson barns. Maybe it's a way of them protecting their pony stock, which I kind of understand, but like they take away so many basic aspects of horsemanship at this point, particularly as you get to fancier barns. Like horses are already tacked and you just show up and you learn to ride, but
Right.
you don't learn how to take care of the horse in any capacity. And now we start drawing people into our sport by doing these demos and exposing them to mounted games. But the only real way that you're going to get a good experience with games, honestly, usually is to get on somebody's pony that knows games, which means now you're immediately borrowing a pony. You have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
And either the owner is now going to be exhausting themselves because they have to like go through, this is how you do this. This is how you would, feed the horse. This is how you're going to be walking the horse and so on. There's got to be more educational content like that to set people up for success. That's comment Jordan.
Jordan.
Carly is the best at horsemanship. Yes.
We should do a lesson at Jordan's barn tonight.
Well, I feel like you kind of like a trial by fire situation. I would expect that you're probably helping people understand the horsemanship component because you didn't have all of that handed to you in the same way someone like me who grew up with horses would,
I learned it very differently from most people who've been involved in horses their entire life. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I think I learned it as an adult. So everything I've learned, I've like taken very seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then applied it. So now when I see people that don't know, it's almost easier to identify, well, they don't know this because I didn't know this.
Exactly.
6 years ago. And that wasn't that long ago, you know?
Well, and I feel like myself too, it's been eye-opening to think of how much I assumed people already knew and how a lot of people I don't think feel super comfortable asking questions at first when they come into the sport. And so you would get around someone like me and it's almost off-putting, I would say, as a new rider to be like, okay, and they're just fumbling through and they feel like they're kind of disappointing like people, but it's because they don't feel confident enough to ask all of the questions, and people who have grown up around it just kind of assume like because it's just is like it's innate knowledge. You just lived it.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing that I've learned though is when people do ask questions, like so many people in the horse community are really willing to give you like good feedback, and they're not all going to align ever because it's an animal. It's just
That's
like,
what I tell everybody that I meet. I'm like, listen, okay, I'm your instructor right now, but look, my perspective on horses is going to be completely different than the next person you talk to. If you have a fellow boarder, if you have a trainer, if you have the barn owner and you talk to them, like, look, everybody's going to have a different opinion, and that's okay.
yeah,
That's totally fine. This is how I do it.
take the
You want
good,
to do it?
leave the
Yeah,
bad.
exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
It's all a lot of it is opinion based. Not
Well,
all.
and so much, and there are people who will get fussy about it and be like, this is the only right way. No, you get around the block and get outside your own barn, you will realize there are 8 different ways that you can arrive in Mississippi. Like,
Exactly.
it's just about showing up there. That's all that matters. Joy, if you ask 3 horsemen a question, you'll get 5 different answers. If you ask 3 horsewomen a question, you're going to get 8 different answers.
8 different answers, 10.
My gosh.
Literally.
I mean, because they're people's babies and they get so passionate about like having their own way of they have one way that has worked for them in the past, but it doesn't mean it's the only way,
Right.
That's so key. So yeah, I think there's an opportunity there for education so that people have, stronger expectations when they loan out a horse that certain things will be accomplished. I think communication is key. Watering the pony, walking the pony, establishing who's going to be feeding the pony. Does the pony get free choice hay? If they don't get free choice hay, what is that expectation? Treats. Some people are very fussy about giving horses treats and they don't want you to do it by hand.
Mhm.
These are things that I think owners need to communicate out when they loan ponies. And I hope that people get a little bit less discouraged by having seen bad horsemanship and instead think maybe I didn't communicate effectively before we even did this, you know? Because I think people have owners have unmet expectations, but it's like, did you actually sit down and tell them that this is what I want you to do? Like,
Right.
now on the flip side, there are people who literally show up, ride, and then just evaporate, and like I can't stand that. Like,
No,
be present, be
that's the
engaged,
worst.
ask questions, but communication is so key. Kimberly, pivoting on the wrapping legs, I just saw a Facebook reel on a way to do polo wraps. Yeah,
You should share that
we
on
should
my
do kind of a whole like wrapping thing. I think that would be huge.
how to.
There's so
Yeah.
many, like we've got to sit down and brainstorm. There's so much educational content. I think I'll put up a post after we close out this reel for your ideas on some videos. We're actually going to try to sync up this weekend and do some filming on some exciting content. So I want to know your ideas on things that would benefit the rider base for mounted games in general. And shout out as we get to our 9:15 mark to all the teams that are competing in Italy, guys.
Oh yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, the IMGA World Team Championships are occurring right now, um, and it's kind of what weird, I would say. They're like lanes of 3 and 2. That they didn't want to expand the arena for some reason, and so they kept them super like it's like no more than 3 lanes.
Wow,
International like
that's
world
not
team
normal.
event. So when I checked in earlier, it looks like Germany is in first. The USA is still in top 5, I think. But you guys check it out. I believe that there's a link that's posted on MGAA. There are some riders that we have in MGAA who are competing over in Italy right now. I know Margot's there getting some video footage for us, which is super exciting. But crazy if you guys can post on Facebook and just cheer on the teams. I know that it's a huge morale boost when I see comments. So that's huge too. But any closing thoughts?
I wanted to give a shout out to Shots Fired for coming in first in O25 division. We kind of
Yes.
have one team, well, two different teams that go back and forth every year, and Shots Fired basically came from the trenches and overtook everyone, which was just really, really cool to see, and very excited for that win. That was very fun.
It was so I don't know the person's name because I was on the sidelines videoing the whole time.
Antonio.
Okay. Claudia and Jay found Antonio. I don't know where they conjured this man
At work,
from,
I
but they
think.
did a sacrifice to the gods and then he just appeared. And it's
Literally.
like literally out of nowhere, a person who has never played mounted games comes out, and I think he did pairs once.
One time.
And he borrows Duck, who is
Not a games
Val's
pony.
pony that like she throws out there to support the community. He's a little bit too tall, like he's like 15-1, 15-2. He's a little bit more sensitive to ride. And I mean, he's not a bad horse. He's just not like your quintessential games pony. And but she's always kindly like, all right, you can use him. Well, they had no other pony they could borrow, and she's like, yeah, you could use him. And my gosh, he just rocked on that pony. It
Literally,
was
I wish he would buy
shockingly
him.
good.
Like, it's like they're a perfect match made in heaven. Like, I've never seen anyone ride duck like that ever.
No,
Yeah,
ever. Like Duck is this like roan, really thick, 15 two-hand quarter horsey type. And my gosh, he was just flying on this horse.
flying.
I'm telling you.
So
So
successful. I didn't see him make a single mistake all weekend. It was
no,
insane.
and it made me realize that we need to start conjuring people from the Western world into our sport as catch riders or as like
Yeah.
fifth riders because dude it was so impressive to me. I'm kind of watching him because I'm like I know this is a really difficult horse to ride. He's got a great seat, he's got great hands. I think he's on mounted patrol. They're out
Mhm.
of the unit that Claudia and Jay ride on, and he was doing toolbox, and so he comes like galloping down and he goes to jump off the horse. And you guys know how we do it in mounted games as English riders. We pull our feet out of the stirrups, we swing our hips through, and then you start running. Well, in the Western world, when you are roping or tying, you secure your animal, and as you're galloping, you swing off the horse, but you keep your left foot in the stirrup. So you're actually hanging on the side of the horse for like a second. And so
Mm.
you do like 2 strides and then you kick your foot out of the stirrup and you hit a run. So it's just a totally different style. And
Right.
he comes galloping down on Duck. And instead of even pulling this horse up, man, he just swings off the side. He's like hanging there with one foot in the stirrup, standing on the side of the horse while he's galloping an extra 2 strides, and then just jumps off and wheels Duck around instead of like half halting him to slow him down. You know, how we might like usually get on them a little
Yeah,
bit.
like
No,
slow down a little bit.
I was just like mind blown. Like, oh
Right,
my gosh, this is,
right.
I've never seen the Western and English worlds collide in this way.
It's
Just,
crazy. Apparently, he's like trained horses and he grew up riding his entire life and all kinds of stuff. I don't want to get it wrong, but something makes me think like, South America area,
I
and
feel
that's where he was
like
born.
we need to get shots fired on the show.
Yes, that would
Yeah,
be
guys,
awesome.
comment if
Good
you want
idea.
us to try to convince shots fired, at least Claudia J and Antonio
Hmm.
to come on the show.
Right,
And
right.
I will reach out
Priscilla,
to them.
we got to bring Priscilla on. She would love that.
Yes. Oh my god, we if we got the whole team, that would just be crazy. Maybe like an hour interview would be really, really good.
Yeah.
Kimberly, please tell me there's a video of Duck running around with Antonio. I feel like Antonio was running around with Duck, okay?
Yeah, honestly.
Someone was very in control there.
Duck was just trying to keep up with Antonio. It was that's why we're like so impressed.
It was clutch. It's very, very impressive and exciting too to see. Again, I feel like there's a little bit of scoffing between like Western world, English world, and they're like, oh, they're very posh, and then the Western is very gritty. And the great thing about our sport is that it kind of meshes the two, and we have this very gritty team sport that is very reactive and quick and requires a lot of physical skill too.
Right.
And we do it in English saddles just because of the vaulting, right? But to see like Western riders come out there and just kick butt, that was so
Dominate.
exciting. I don't know,
Dominate.
that was the highlight probably of my weekend. I was
Right?
just like,
Right.
oh
I
my
was like,
god, Duck
this
is
deserves a
flying.
shout out 100%.
So first place was shots fired. Second place was, do we remember?
Bomb Squad.
Bomb Squad. Oh my
Yeah.
god,
I think they
that's
won
a
it last year, I
crazy
think.
shakeup because
No.
I know there was a lot of contention between like the top 4. I think going like through Saturday. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That
It
is
was
so
crazy.
cool to see teams like that just kick it up a notch and then crush it. So
Right.
I appreciate that shout out. That was smart. Joy said 1 point,
By 1 point.
1 point between
Literally.
them.
It was so close.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's where like I don't even want to know the points when I get into when you're in a tight
It's too much
session like
pressure.
that. Like,
It's too
no,
much.
I'm just gonna ride the best of my ability. If you told me I was 1 point out, there's no way.
Nope. I'd be like, I don't know how to ride anymore.
Full SpongeBob on it. Kim said Mounted Games riding wise does seem a bit more Western English style meshed together.
Yeah.
It is. And we create such a huge divide between them. And I feel like there are really cool things like Mounted Games. That's the gritty side of English sports. And then there's like Western dressage, which is the very elegant side of Western sports where they're asking for engagement and impulsion. We create this big divide, but like it's really just good riders and good horses,
Right.
paired
Balanced
together.
riding.
Yeah. So guys, we didn't want to do a full hour because we are just getting it back in the swing of things. But thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening, and we will be back in full force next week, and try to regroup this weekend on kind of a plan with some interviews going forward, educational content to kind of kick it back up a notch now that I am grounded.
I just thought of something. Okay, y'all, for any of our Mounted Games riders that are local, I am going to be hosting my first ever pairs competition, so please come. So I have someone to guinea pig and practice off of so I can get better at this. But our first one is, oh God, our
July
first one
28th.
is happening July 28th, which is in a week and a half.
Yes.
And we'll just talk about that one for now. And it is luau themed.
It's like luau, like pool party
Pool
themed,
party,
right?
like everybody
So
wears swimsuits. Let's
yeah.
Let's get funky
Well,
with
maybe
it.
not, but maybe on top of your
On
gear.
top of your
Yeah.
shit. I don't want
But
anything to slip.
so Sun and Fun Games, the Sun and Fun series, if you go on Facebook, we have a page there. That's where we've collected a bunch of equipment and we host locally in Lovettsville, Virginia,
Yep.
for 1 day competitions. I'm getting too advanced in the pregnancy to be out there really running the whole thing. It's just I can maybe sit around, but
She's
it's
gonna
a
be
lot of pressure
behind the
still.
scenes, maybe taking some clutch videos and,
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm just gonna come
supporting
hang
me.
out. Carly is gonna run it. So you guys go on Sun and Fun. We just put up the entry because we're trying to firm up dates. So it's the 28th,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And Carly is going to be running the show. So we need to have some turnout here. So I think we only have 3 riders entered right now.
Okay.
You guys don't have to pay until the week before, but if you want to get your entry in, it helps because I am still making ribbons for this. So you guys still have awards,
There's still gonna
and
be
it helps
prizes.
me to plan if you guys get your entries in sooner than later, please.
Yep.
Like, that's my little preggy wish that I could have this
Sooner than
done this
later.
week.
Yes. So everyone, please
Fun and
sign
fun
up,
games.
come to our competition, and
Yes.
support
Yeah,
us.
it's
Okay,
going to be a
thanks.
blast. And there's going to be a costume just like every other time. You can win an award for costume turnout. It makes it fun having it themed. And that's where the pool luau type theme comes in. Get creative. I heard of a mankini on Simon. So
Very
it's,
excited for that.
it's going to be interesting, guys. You guys got to check it out. But Fun and Fun Games series on Facebook. And with that, bid you adieu until next week, you guys. And I'm going to put up a poll. I've got a couple questions for you on educational videos, but also on things you look for when you're loaning out a pony for good and bad rider etiquette. So, guys,
Love
have
it.
a good night.
Good night, bye.
Bye. Oh gosh. Oh, the end button. The end is